everyone. So, all of us have too much going on in our life and in our mind, and we always say to talk it out in order to feel light and to feel better.
Jumping Mind is one of its kind mental health tech startup.
A safe place to connect with friends and talk about real life challenges.
To spread 1 billion smiles and create one happy world. That's what we aim for. We are Jumping Minds.
We are Jumping Minds.
So, download Jumping Minds app today and feel better instantly through personalized smart solutions.
I did that. It says you are not authorized. That's what it says. When I say include computer, it says go to your 1 second. 1 second. Hold on. Go to your device's audio setting and select handset hands-free audio Bluetooth. That's what I have.
If you want, we can stream the video at the time you want.
Now tell me if this is okay. Okay, hold on. Just let me see.
This is where your ice
Yes, sir.
cream
It's
comes
audible.
from. The creamy poop
Is it
of a
audible?
missing
No.
unicorn.
Yes.
Totally clean, totally cool, and soft served straight from a sphincter.
Is this audible? No.
Yes, sir. It's audible.
Guys, reminder, we're starting in 2 minutes, so ask all your friends to join in if they're missing out. So we'll begin with the session now. So everyone can tell you there's a risk. Only an entrepreneur can see the reward. Hello everyone and welcome to day 3 of E-Summit 2022, the annual flagship entrepreneurial festival of IIT BHU. The Entrepreneurship Summit, themed Ventures of Veracity, with the motive of molding fresh entrepreneurs into monarchs of their domains, embraces various workshops, sessions, events, and competitions. This conclave becomes a perfect platform for collaboration among the student community, venture capitalists, startups, and passionate people about entrepreneurship. Today, for the 5th Entrepreneurship Masterclass session of E-Summit 2022, we're very delighted to have Mr. Jateen Tanna for the session on the art of presentation, how to pitch in front of investors. Jitendra sir is the founder, president and CEO of Eternus Solutions Private Limited, partner at Social Ventures Partner and TI Charter member. We're very grateful, sir, that you could be with us today. For all the attendees, if you have any questions during the session, please feel free to put them in the chat box and we'll take them up from there. So without any further ado, let's begin with the session. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Tanaya. Thank you so much. And I know it's a Friday evening. For quite a few, it might be that, hey, when this session will over, because it's a party time, weekend time. But I'm sure 1.5 hour, hopefully you guys will understand something. And as Tanaya said rightly, only entrepreneurs or only the founders can really do something which you need and what I need. You need something different when you want to really start something on your own, and that zeal that is required for any individual, that's not easy, that's very difficult, but good that some of you have started this journey. Let me just share my screen first. Just give me a minute. Let me know once you can start seeing the presentation.
Sure, sir.
Can you see my screen?
Yes, sir, it's visible now.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful. So once again, a warm welcome to all the entrepreneurs, all the founders. This is going to be one of those sessions where I will probably talk about some of the things where you might feel it's very easy and I know it all. But some of these things are coming by experience, because I meet at least 2 to 3 startup companies every week, and I've seen a lot of those challenges which I'm going to talk about. Now, just to begin with, first and foremost, just wanted to share one of the fact. Do you know that in a single hour, the amount of energy or amount of power from the sun that strikes the earth is more than the entire world's consumption for one full year? Read this statement once again, which you can see on the screen. Okay. And my question is, if this is true, then why there are so many companies who are working towards energy conservation? Why are we always talking about, switch off the electricity? Instead of electricity, can we go for alternate source of energy? Why we are doing this, if this is true? Fortunately, unfortunately, this is the same story with the presentation. 35 million PowerPoint presentation per day is what people are making. 500 million plus users worldwide. Okay, and this is, by the way, year and a half, 2 years old statistics. By now, this number must have gone up sizably high, right? If this is the case, right, 25,000 presentation per minute if we are presenting, what is the challenge? Why we are still talking about how do we present in front of investor, in front of your customers, in front of your business partners? The key reason is because most of these presentations are unbearable, and I'm sure each one of you here have been witness to this. And why those are unbearable? Again, the most important part which each one of us forget when we are presenting is PowerPoint is not the presentation. It's the person, it's you, the speaker. You are the presentation. Presentation, PowerPoint should not be overpowering you. You should be the one who should be powering the presentation. And that you can do provided you are able to really get the attention from the audience, because it's all about audience. Your audience should be captivated, not captive the way you see in this picture. You need to really focus on what is that your audience needs to know, not what you know, and hence share whatever you know about your companies, your product, your solution, or about yourself to your audience. One of the other things which I also notice, that when you are talking to your audience, your way of working, your energy level is down. You need to be excited about whatever you say, even if you're lying. You need to be excited about lying, because that's very important. If you are not excited, then your audience will not be. If you are excited, your audience will be excited too. Now, how do you make your audience excited? It's very simple. This is how I would call it. Any effective presentation, whether you are presenting to your investors, when you are presenting to your customers, you are presenting to your teammates, there are only three key things. First, you need to have a great content, and I'll talk about what is the great content means. Second, effective delivery, and third, eye-catching design, because that's also very critical. Let's go slightly deeper down and talk about the content. When somebody says content, first and foremost, please ensure that your content is very clear, crystal clear. Make it very simple. Don't try to jumble up too many things and try to give too much of information in one slide or in 100 slides. Keep it very simple. It should be progressive. What I meant by progressive is it should pass the positive message, something where audience can get some information. Okay, and end of the day, it has to be consistent. When I say consistent, the theme which you use, the color scheme which you use, the topic which you are talking about, there has to be some consistency. And I'll come on some of these pointers probably over a period of next 10 to 15 minutes. Yeah. Also, just to get the audience attention quickly, you start with some kind of a stories or some kind of anecdotes. The way I started with the general stuff, if you recall, when my first slide, I talked about the energy conservation, and I'm trying to relate it with the presentation, right? So you start with your personal stories, you start with some kind of anecdotes, because when you are specially presenting to unknown audience, which could be, let's say, your investors typically, why and how can you really in first few seconds you can get attention from them? It's only through five senses, because end of the day, each of these five senses, your touch, your sight, your smell, your hear, your taste, these are the five senses which any and all audience try to use it to get the attention of a speaker. Ensure that stories or anecdotes which you are talking about, those are catchy enough so that one of these senses or at least two of these senses can really catch it faster, and you are able to create that wow factor and able to have the audience attention immediately. The other important part is, remember, less is always more. As I said earlier, do not put too much of a text, right? Less text gives you more meaning, something which you can see right now on the screen. And then finally, when you are presenting, right, these are the five things which is very critical. One is your voice volume. It has to be soft and effective. Make sure you are using pronunciation, articulation well. Simplify your voice. Don't talk in a flat voice. Think about it right now. If I talk and say, I'm going to talk about presentation delivery and what should be considered, versus the energetic with the energy level saying, hey, in next few minutes, I'm going to talk about presentation and how you deliver the presentation. I hope you understand the difference between those two, right? Your physical appearance, your eye contact. Right now we are talking about virtual. Generally this session, I do not do virtual because there are a lot of hand gesture and a lot of movement which I use, which I am able to help you when you are talking in front of, let's say, investors. Investors are not talking about or not listening to you and your presentation about your ideas, about your business, but they are also looking at your body language. One of the very important part of investor investing in any company is the founder, is the team, not the idea, because there are ideas are a diamond dozen, and investor will always look at saying, hey, those ideas, great ideas can be screwed up or business can be screwed up by the terrible founders, versus great founder or great team can really take the most terrible idea to the success, right? That's why that physical appearance, that eye contact when you're talking to your investors, the facial expression, general body movement also is very, very critical. So please consider this. I know a lot of you guys might be thinking that, yes, we know all, but when you are presenting, I have seen hundreds of times where we miss out on talking about some of or taking care of some of these aspects. I have seen people when they are presenting, they'll only look at one person or two people rather than glancing through the entire audience, which is very, very critical, very, very important, right? So eye contact, making sure that you are not ignoring section of the audience, or whether that audience is 5 people or 50 or 500 does not matter. Make sure that you are having enough time duration for the eye contact with every single individual or every single part of the audience. Yeah. Same ways, be ready to answer any and all questions. Generally, there'll be always questions. Sometimes you curate or you present such a way where you are creating a curiosity, and those curiosity can be answered in during the question answer session. I'm going to talk to you about how do you structure your presentation in next few minutes. But I think the critical part is make sure that your flexibility, your agility, the way you answer the question, right, is really practiced and it is rehearsed. And all of this can be taken care provided you have practiced it well. Because if you fail to prepare, then you are preparing yourself for the failure. That's guarantee. So only solution to do this is practice, 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 and practice. Even if you know the subject, practice it 5 times, practice it 10 times, practice it 20 times. In fact, one of my guru has always says that 20 audio and 20 video is the right way to practice. What I meant by audio is, nowadays all of you have this nice fancy gadget, mobile, right? When you are preparing or practicing, record it and listen to it. Record it and listen to it. That's your audio. 20 video means probably present in front of mirror, present in front of your 2 or 3 friends. That will help you. Friends will guide you. When you are looking in the mirror and practicing, you understand your body language. You understand some part of your body language or a gesture which might not be right. So use it to your advantage. That's why remember 20 audio, 20 video is very critical. And I'm sure each one of us know that you can't stop a winner from winning and loser from losing. Winners will continue and loser will stop at some point. Having said that, let me explain you or let me tell you a little bit perspective about how do I structure my presentation. I'll help you to answer that question, because I'm sure when you are preparing a presentation for your investor, one is the content or what should be covered, which I'll cover over a period of next few minutes. But second is how do you structure any and all your presentation, right? So first, very important, before even defining the presentation, define your objective. Decide what is your objective. There are only 3 broader objectives. Please remember this. This is very, very important. Anybody is presenting either to inform somebody or to convince or to get action. Okay. So let's say first time when you are talking to your investor, First, you are trying to inform that this is about my company, this is my team, this is my product, this is my services. So you are having a presentation. Maybe second time when you are meeting the same audience or same investor, now you are trying to convince that why your company or your startup or your idea is the best compared to any other companies or any other competitors, and hence they need to invest. And third time, you might say, hey, here is my presentation. I've explained you, I have informed you. I think you are convinced. Now it's time to get the action. Please sign check for me. Right? So any presentation, the objective of any of this presentation will be only three: either to inform, or to convince somebody, or to get action from somebody. Keeping that in mind, define your presentation. How are you going to open? How are you going to organize the content? How are you going to simplify? As I said, it has to be very simple. And of course, finally, how are you going to close it? And as I said earlier, practice, 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 and then deliver the presentation. Now, question is, how do you approach the design? Because end of the day, design also is very, very critical. So there are two approaches. I've seen people take the first approach where they say they put the conclusion at the beginning, because when you put the conclusion in the beginning, audience will get the bigger picture and it enables them to make a decision that do I want to listen for next 5 minutes or 50 minutes or 500 minutes, or do I want to switch off, right? And it sometimes keeps the audience attention better ways, especially for those who are looking for that conclusion. The other approach could be put the conclusion at the end. What does it mean is you are trying to create a mystery. You're trying to create some kind of a curiosity, right? And that enables people to come to their own conclusion over a period, right? Not only your conclusion, but some other conclusion. And that also holds the audience attention. So decide which way you want to go. Do you want to go approach one or approach two? Do you want to talk to investor and talking about the financial slide saying that, hey, this is the kind of money I'm looking for. This is the kind of equity I'm going to give away for that kind of a money. Start from there, and why you should invest. Then you talk about your problem and solution and design and everything else. That's one approach. Or you start with your problem statement and your solution and why you and your team, and finally at the end you say, hey, I'm looking for this kind of a money and I'm going to give away this percentage of equity. I hope you are getting the point what I'm trying to raise here. Yeah. Having said that, once you decide your approach, then you have to ask these questions to yourself, right? Before preparing your pitch deck. First, who is your audience? Is it one investor, or is it an investor community? Are they angel investors? Are they VC? Are they friends and family? What do you want to present to them? Okay. What do you want to present, and why do you want to present? And where will you present? Will it be online? Will it be in person? And finally, how will you present? Will you present using PPTs, whiteboard, charts, slides? I think the simple way to look at it is, if you see this next kind of a template, it says, I want, and you can really write down this statement, because that will help you to answer all these 5 questions. For example, I want my investors to fill in the gap. What is the content? Then fill in the gap. Where are you going to present? When are you going to present? And how are you going to present? Because I want investment from them, right? So as soon as you are able to articulate this statement, and as soon as you are able to answer this question, you've done your audience analysis the way it is explained in this slide, because that will help you to structure the content in line with the audience expectations rather than what you want to share. Okay. You will collect the enough material from the sources based on what your audience needs, right? Now, question might also come that how do I allocate time for different things? Let's say your investors say that, hey, you've got 30 minutes. In 30 minutes, I want you to present your idea or your business. This is how I would distribute. First, 5% of your time, which is, let's say in this case, 2 to 3 minutes, you start with some kind of an opening or a beginning. create some kind of a curiosity for the investors, so that next 30 minutes person is still hooked on, right? Second, about 20 to 20 minutes, which is your middle section, right? That will cover more details around your product, your solution, why that is a problem and what is the solution and how you are the one who is going to solve, right? Third, closing, which is about 2 to 3 minutes, where you try to give some kind of an anecdote again, which audience, in this case investors, will go home with couple of interesting facts. And finally, give about 5 minutes or so for question and answer. When you are defining your time allocated and preparing the presentation accordingly, chances of your success in terms of getting the action, finally, that's what you want from investor, is going to be very high. In this entire thing, when you think about it, I think two things matters. One is the beginning, and second, the end. Because in the beginning, you'll be able to get the attention. In the end, you're trying to create a climax. You're trying to get the action from the audience, in this case, investors. When you're defining this end and beginning, you also need to make sure that the content overall, when you prepare, the complete, this content should be complement to the speaker, not off, and more of a talk, not of a technical, too much of a technical report. Don't try to create a slide where there are 20 bullet points and 30 bullet points, right? Generally, guideline is maximum 5 to 7 lines per slide and probably 4 to 8 words per line. See, these are all very number driven, but remember, why I'm giving is, you might say that, hey, this is, I know about this, but look at your last presentation which you did, and you'll be surprised how many of these rules which you might have broken. Finally, I'm sure each one of us know that 10% of what we read is what we remember, and 50% plus you remember what you see and what you hear. Given that, see, hear, and do this visual aid, the presentation, the chart, whatever you are talking about, make sure that those are attractive enough so that people can remember, audience can remember. Now, one of the other challenge which I've seen is a lot of people have a stage fright. Whether you are presenting to one person or two people or 200 people, everybody has a stage fright. By the way, I was just looking at some of the statistics from 2018 US, and it's very interesting to see that the biggest fear, right, is not from a blood pressure or a height or bugs or snakes bite or drowning in the water. It's public speaking. Remember this chart, if you think about it, it's very interesting that the public speaking is the only thing where you will not lose your life. And yet, percentage of people who are having a stage fright or a public speaking fright is the highest, right? Now, given that, how do we resolve that? Because and why it is there? And I think one of the key reasons why it is there is, you always, when you are talking to somebody or speaking to somebody, especially investors or friends, not friends, sorry, or your employees or your teammates or business partners, I think one of the key thing, the reason is people will fear about being judged, or what will happen if this goes wrong. And those are the challenges, those are the reasons why public speaking is the highest, as you see in this chart. Same time, stage fright is with everybody. Okay, and I can assure you, people like public speakers like Mr. Modi or Shashi Tharoor or any of these people, they also have a stage fear. It's just that magnitude or the degree will vary, right? And if you use that constructively, then stage fear will go away. It's the first few seconds, right? So generally what I do, and I will request each one of you, before you talk to anybody or getting to the meeting, you use this Superman pause. Look at this pause, right? And when you are using this pause to yourself, maybe in front of mirror, maybe in washroom, before getting into a meeting with the investors, just use this Superman pause and say, hey, I know everything in the world. Rest of the people don't know anything about my product or a solution, and it will help you to remove the stage fright up to a level for sure. Yeah. Same time, we did talk about it, but be sensitive to the audience. See through the audience, browse through the audience, because you might see there will be a lot of non-verbal feedback which you might receive from the audience. And if you are not able to get those audience feedback, non-verbal feedback, let's say if I'm presenting right now in front of you, when all of you guys are in person, right? And I see that 5 of you guys are switching on your mobiles, I should get the feedback, non-verbal feedback, that hey, somebody is losing the interest. Can I do something different, right? So those non-verbal feedback while glancing through the audience, while seeing the audience, is very critical. And you should modify to meet audience needs if at all you see any of these things. Having said that, as I was talking earlier, key challenges I've seen is how do you really answer or handle those questions? Because I've seen sometime during the question answer, people or speaker generally gets frustrated, or sometimes they feel that I'm not able to answer now. And I've seen other way around also, where without thinking, before somebody finishes the question, I as a speaker, I'm ready to answer. My always request to all of you guys, when you are talking to your investor, when you are talking to your business partners, make sure that they finish their question, take a pause for a second or so, think about it, and then answer. Never ever be in hurry to answer. Do not get confused, right? Every time, don't expect that investor expect that for every goddamn question you should have answered. You can always give a consulting answer that, hey, I'll get back to you. Sometimes it's a good idea to use some of the disclaimer, especially when you're talking about, let's say, competitive advantage. Let's say you're talking about competition. You might know that for your business ideas, there are only 2 competition and there might be 20. If investor is asking, do you know your competition? You say, hey, in my opinion, based on my data points, these 2 or 3 or 4 companies are my competition. They are doing exactly what we are talking about. By doing this, at least you are not saying, or you're not passing the judgment to the investors saying, I know all kind of attitude, right? Because sometimes we might not have all the information. So while answering, make sure that using some language like this is very important, very critical. By the way, that doesn't mean in every answer you use that, because that will be killer too. Okay, so be careful. And sometimes question themselves will give you or lead you to the answer or point of view, right? Because those are rhetorical questions. So what I'm trying to make here is, before answering, ensure that you are taking a pause, think about it, and then answer. And especially when you're talking in front of investors who is listening to people like you and me, I don't know, 10, 20, 30 presentation daily, they will have questions which will be different. One. Second, sometimes your ideas or your business, they might not be expert about, and hence they will have a stupid or a novice question also. Be ready to answer those questions also. Don't expect that everybody knows everything. Okay. Now, next few slides, I'm going to quickly run through, but these are the one of those things which when I see on the presentation, I always feel that this founder or this company, I should not invest, because if they are making this kind of a mistake, for sure, this is not investable company. It might sound like a ill-advised, but I've seen enough those. And I'm sure when you go through this next few slides, you will also see that those are the common mistakes, because those common sense which we call is no longer a common in current world. For example, spelling mistake. I'm sure you have seen enough of this spelling mistake which you can see in this my slide, right? Or sometimes it's not a spelling mistake, but executive boardroom rather than boardroom, right? Any of this kind of things, make sure that you are using the Microsoft or any tool which you are using right ways. So you are not making spelling mistake like you see in spelling mistake here, or you are not using different word. Are you sure you want to exist? I mean, this is another thing which I'm sure a lot of us have seen that. Big no to any of these things. Okay. Next, I've seen people try to be creative and use the bullet points, which is different side, left side of the screen. rather than right side of the screen rather than left side of the screen. Make sure that bullets are always on the left. Make sure that you are using same common consistent bullets. Remember that PowerPoint is all about the bullet points. When you are saying bullet points or you are writing some kind of a bullet pointers or statements, full stop is not required, right? It's very important that unless you are trying to use the sentences which are important or somebody said specific sentences or somebody's narratives, then use the full stop. Otherwise, it's not required. Okay. Background. I'm sure you have seen enough slides where background is dark and front color is different. It's not even readable. Use the right background. Sometimes contrast color, right? Red or blue conflicts. Remember, white and yellow conflicts. Use the right background with the right color. Make sure that there are not 12, 13, 14 points. Remember rule of 4, not more than 4 bullet points, right? It's always good to have only 4 bullet points or maximum 5 on a slide, on a one slide. As I said earlier, less is more. Remember, don't use your creativity in PPT. Use your creativity in your business planning, in your customers. How do you buy customers or how do you sell customers rather than creating using the fonts? Do not use visually distracting fonts like what you see here. Stay away from any of these gimmicky fonts, okay? Because those looks good, but it is not readable. Keep this font size consistent. Don't try using 5 different font size on a statement or on a slide or in a presentation. With all due respect, have consistency in your fonts, color, your size of the fonts, your type of the font. Do not use all caps. And this is something which is very, very critical. Until and unless one word or two, if you want to make it capital, that's fine. Otherwise, don't do that. Avoid too many font colors on the same slide, the way you see here, right? Not advisable. Use 1, max 2 colors. I would always advise use the standard, sans serif kind of a fonts, which are Arial, Tahoma, Vedana. These are the fonts which are more readable. And all these other fonts, gimmicky fonts, please stay away. Your title should be about 32 to 44 points. Don't make it too small versus don't make it too large also. Same time, the subject, right, or the main content in the slide, make sure it's about 20 to 24 slides, not too bold again. It should be readable enough. And avoid text overloads. Look at this last statement where too much of information written on the screen. Audience will only pay attention to read that. Your objective is audience should listen to you, not reading what's there on the slide deck, right? That's why use the bullet points, not the statements. Is that clear? Yeah. Now, I've also seen people, try to show their creativity in transition. Sometimes you use this fly in, your audience now will suddenly start looking at those nice fancy things. Sometimes those vibe or this, stupid bouncy stuff. I mean, your presentation is formal presentation. Don't use this bouncy or fly in or those kind of weird stuff. Maybe it will look good in your mind, but when somebody is looking at it, somebody's, audience from their standpoint, when they are looking at this presentation, right, they don't want to focus, or you don't want them to focus on all this transition and font colors and different size. You want them to focus on the content. Content has to be simple, clear, progressive, and consistent. Remember those 4 things which I talked earlier, right? So no transition is almost every time better. My point is be consistent throughout the presentation because that's what is very, very critical. Think about this. Would you like to see such slides? Look at this slide. Look at this slide. Look at the content on this slide. There's no way in the earth you will be able to keep the audience attention on any of this kind of a slide. Either it's too boring or too technical in nature or too busy, right? Because the reason for that is the audience came here to listen to you, not to read. You use the chart or templates or any of these visual aids just to pass your message. It's not for them to read. And finally, as an entrepreneur, you will have to make a lot of presentations. You will have to make the presentation to make a sell. So make the sell. Remember, I said when you are making a sell, you're presenting only for one of these things. Either you are trying to inform about your product or a solution, or you are trying to convince somebody that your product is the best product, or you are trying to get an action from somebody, right? So in each of these cases, all you are trying to do is you are trying to make a sell. So make it. Don't try to shy away and don't say that I'm not selling here. You have to sell it, and you please do go ahead and sell it. And you need to do the emotional sell. It's not just tactical in nature, right? Because if everybody on this room or in this webinar right now, right, if you all agreed with me, right, then you wouldn't have to be here. I don't have to present this, right? And hence remember, you have to sell, whether it's your idea, whether it's your story, whether it's your product, whether it's your company, anything and everything, you have to sell it. You go ahead and sell. Sell them the energy conservation ideas, even after knowing that there is an abundant energy available for free, yet you sell it, right? Thank you so much. Really appreciate your time. But before we get into the question, I would like to open the floor for something interesting. Have you, and this will be kind of helpful for me to understand, that have you seen some of the principles which I have explained about the presentation? Have you seen any mistakes in my presentation, keeping those perspective in mind? Can you please put it on your chat box if you have seen any of those mistakes which I talked about, and if you have seen in my presentation, please start putting on your chat box. Or don't tell me there are no mistakes, because I have created a mistake and I have inserted few mistakes by design. Okay, looks like I'm talking to audience who are sleepy. Any mistakes anybody has seen? No mistakes? Thank you, font. Okay. Anything else? Interesting audience. One slide used lot of text. Okay. True. Okay. That's a good observation. For a slide, sir, you go faster. Okay. In my view, color consistency of slides. Okay. Consistency in design was lacking. Okay. Interesting observations. Okay. Good. 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 Now let me also share some of the other observations which you might have seen but you might have missed. Okay. Look at these slides. This, of course, right now it's a small, right now you can see only small slide, right? You will not be able to see them. I'm not presenting you big slide. This slide, do you guys recall when I shared this slide? Now, if you recall this slide, the first one, voice and volume, the way it is written versus in all other four is completely different. Why that specific treatment to this? So consistency is missing. Got the point? Second slide. Look at the background here. Too dull background. Right? This slide. Too many bullet points and colors. Look at the colors. How many bullet points are there? I only said there can't be more than 4. And how many bullet points are there? Right? Here, somebody mentioned that there are sentences, right? In this slide. Okay? Because when I presented this slide, I'm sure rather than listening to me, you were talking or you were reading this. What is written in the beginning, what is written in the end. That's why it is very important not to have such kind of a sentences. Now this slide, I don't even know why this slide was there. There was no relevance whatsoever because I'm talking here completely different. And this slide, for no reason, I put it there just to kind of distract my audience or to make sure that you understand that just for the heck of it, don't put the slide or don't put any information which has no relevance in my presentation, right? This one, too boring, too much text, too much verbo. I'm trying to show you the, almost like a path. And I spent hardly 10 to 15 seconds on this slide. So I didn't even allow you to read. So it's too boring, right? Hope you're getting a point. Another thing is too many slides for the time given and hence more time taken than allotted, which will happen for sure. Second, as somebody already said, some of the slides I was just browsing through, I was just moving fast. By the way, it was by design. Okay. Too much usage of clip arts. I've used too many clip arts on this slide deck, and it is by design. I wanted to make sure that you guys understand that too much of usage of clip art also is not good. I have used as if like tomorrow I'm not going to, these clip arts will not be available, so let me consume that today itself. Okay, so that's a very wrong approach, right? Generally, I do this where I ask somebody to call me during the presentation, but today I didn't do that. But that's another thing, right? Now, having said all these mistakes, best thing is I thought it will be a good idea to look at a couple of case studies, right? And what could be better than going through the real case study of a pitch deck? And let's go through that. Let's try to understand what should be there, what should not be there, and why it is good or bad. Okay, so I'm going to present you a case study of Airbnb, which all of you know, right? Airbnb in 2009, using this pitch deck, they raised $500,000, $500,000. Okay, so that's best way to use the right example. So what they used in this pitch deck, right? These are the few slides which they had. First slide, which was a cover slide. Second slide about the problem. What is the problem which they have and how they are trying to solve it. Third, solution. What is the solution, right? Fourth, market validation, right? Fifth, what is the market size? What kind of market I can capture, right? Next, about their product. How does the product look like, or how does their app look like, right? Next, what is their business model? Will market adopt it? Who are the competitor? Why they will be the one who will be winning? Competitive advantage. Who are the team members? And then, of course, press or user testimonials. And finally, the financials. So they have used in this slide deck, which I'm going to kind of quickly go over. What they did is they used the two approach. Remember, I said conclusion first or conclusion at the end. In this case, they use the conclusion at the end. Okay, and I'll just go over that. For example, look at this. This is the cover slide. Very crystal clear, simple, plain, nice, beautiful looking slide. And it says book rooms with local rather than hotels. Okay, very clear, almost like a mission statement or a vision statement or a kind of a thing. Simple to understand. Now, this is the best part which I like about their slide. The way they have defined their problem statement. Price is an important concern for customers booking travel online. Hotel leaves you disconnected from the city and its culture. No easy way exists on a booking rooms with a local because of the host. Look at it. They have not given too much of a statistics, numbers, anything. Slide is not busy at all. Very simple way of defining the problem. Very crystal clear in a simple English. Right? Next, solution. Again, look at it. Read the first statement. A web platform where users can rent out their space to host travelers. To do what? To save the money, to make the money, to share the culture. I hope you are getting me, right? That for investor, when they are looking at this slide or when they are looking at a previous slide, right? That this is my problem, this is my solution. It's crystal clear. User does not need to know the travel industry or a hotel industry. I'm not user, I meant the investors. The way I always ask people sometime that go to your grandmother or a grandfather, right? Talk to them about your problem and talk to them about your solution in one line. And if they say, yes, dear, yes, beta, you are focusing on a right problem and the solution which you are saying is the right solution, that means the messaging or the one line statement which you have written is very crystal clear. It can be understandable to every single person, right? Don't try to use too many jargons. Don't try to use the technology to your use technology to your advantage while creating your solution, but not while presenting. Okay, look at this. Oops, sorry, my mistake. Look at this mistake. So this circle came on top. So market validation. Market validation means company A and company B. There are 670,000 total users. Here there are 17,000 users, and hence my business will. So somebody else has already tried, and this is the traction what they have. Hence, I will be able to do better, right? And this is 2009. Remember, when Airbnb nobody knew, none of us knew Airbnb, right? That is the time this presentation was made. Market size. Now this is very critical, right? Again, look at each of the numbers. 2 billion plus TAM, total available market. Serviceable market, $560 million, right? Why? Because they are focusing on budget and online. And trips with Airbnb, we would like to take 15% of market share. By the way, if they have presented this slide to me in 2009, probably they were, I would say, as an investor, I would say 15% market is not easy and very ambitious goal. Today we think 15% was great. Today their market share is much higher than that, right? But same time, be judicious about what you write here. I've seen people sometimes write, even if I get 1% of market share, I will be fine. Never ever use this kind of a statement, because as soon as you use this kind of a statement, investor will think, oh, 1% market share, is that all your appetite is as a founder? I don't think I'm ready to invest. Same time, don't say that I'm going to get 80% of the market share, because that's also not going to be possible. I'm saying you need to be judicious enough to understand and explain if question comes, why 15%, why 10%, why 5%, why 16%, right? Because those questions will come, and be ready to answer. Okay. Product. Now, when you are having, for example, they have got this app. This was 2009, right? That's the kind of app they had. This is their review listing. This is how you book it. That's how you are kind of in 2 or 3 slides. You are talking about your product, your solution, your app, your whatever you are trying to sell or whatever business you are in. Try to make sure that you explain that. If you are going to investor and if you do not have a product or a solution, or at least MVP level product, please do not even waste your time in preparing the presentation. There are very few investors who will purely based on just the idea. Investors will not invest, or there are very few investors, probably not a significant percentage at all, will go by idea. But that's a small, minuscule percentage, right? Okay. So make sure that there are a couple of slides about product, but again, look at the simplicity in the slides also, right? And it's crystal clear. Business model. Again, think about it. They have not complicated the business model. They have not put down the big Excel sheet in the presentation. All they said in one sentence, we take 10% commission on each transaction. That's all. That's my business model. I'm sure if you think about Airbnb business model, there are a lot of other things part of it. But the way they explained in 2009 is by that one single statement. Okay. $84 million is what we are going to get. Average fees will be $25, and $200 million revenue is what we are projecting in 2011. Very crystal clear business model. I have seen sometime founders, when they prepare the business model, they embed full Microsoft Excel sheet here. Right? Look at this slide. How crystal clear it is, right? Same ways, how market will adopt my solution, or how will I go to market? Events, partnership. So again, very crystal clear with the simple 2-3 bullet points, right? In terms of how am I going to go and get the market done. Competition. Look at this slide, right? They will not put down the Excel sheet metrics. Again, I've seen people kind of put down and say, hey, competition A, competition B, competition C. On your left hand side, you will have 10 parameters. You will have a tick mark, cross, and God knows, smiley face, ugly face, and then everywhere for my product, it's all nice green. For rest of the companies, there are 2-3 greens. This is like a standard competitive landscape which I've seen by others, right? This is how one can really present, which is very clearly understandable by anybody and everybody, right? They are talking about affordability, they are talking about online, they are talking about expensive and offline transaction. How competition is there, where they are versus where Airbnb is, right? Same ways, competitive advantage. First to market, ease of use, profiles, list ones, design and brand, and host incentive. These are my 5 competitive advantages compared to my competition. Again, not too much verbose, not too much text, but very crystal clear for anybody to understand. And finally, as I said earlier also, any investor, they will invest not only on your ideas, but the first thing they will look at it is your team, right? They've clearly identified these 3 individuals, right? Here, make sure that you more focus on those people who are 100% committed to your business. There is a consultant, there is an advisor. Don't try to put too many pictures and too many profiles here, right? Who are the people? Your team is those 2 or 3 or 5 people who are putting 100%. Their skin is on the game. Only give introduction about those people. Advisors, put 1 line or 2 like what you see here. But don't try to spend too much time. Don't try to focus too much on advisors. Focus has to be on founders, right? Because end of the day, all the investors, they will invest on you. They want to bet on the right horses, right? And finally, the praise. Okay, if you have got some accolades, you have got some awards, you can make sure you put down there some customer testimonial, right? And the conclusion, which means, look at this again, very crystal clear. We are looking for 12 months financing to reach 80,000 transaction on Airbnb, right? We are looking for 500K angel round. Okay, we will reach over 12 months $2 million revenue by using this 500K. Simple, very simple. No complexity. We're going to use 20% to marketing, 10% to sales, 5% to product development, 2% into hiring right people. I've seen so many slides which talks about 20 things which they want to do for 500K. Here it's very clear. Okay. This is the present. This was the one case study which is purely from a presentation standpoint. Now I want to talk to you about another case study, right? But for that, let me stop sharing. And I would request Tanaya to share that video. Now look at that video and we'll talk about it in a minute.
Sure, sir. I'll just share that video.
This is where your ice cream comes from. The creamy poop of a mystic unicorn. Totally clean, totally cool, and soft served straight from a sphincter. They're good at pooping. But you know who sucks at pooping? You do. That's because when you sit on a porcelain throne, this muscle puts a kink in the hose and stops the Ben and Jerry's from sliding out smoothly. Is that a problem? I don't know. Are hemorrhoids a problem? Because sitting at this angle can cause hemorrhoids, bloating, constipation, and a buttload of other crap. And seriously, unicorn hemorrhoids? The glitter gets everywhere. But what happens when you go from a sit to a squat? Voila! This muscle relaxes and that king goes away faster than Pegasus laying sweet sherbet dookie. Now your colon's open and ready for battle. That's because our bodies were made to poop in a squat, and now there's a product that lets you squat in your own home. Introducing the Squatty Potty. No, Squatty Potty is not a joke. And yes, it will give you the best poop of your life, guaranteed. I don't just mean you bloated lords and hemorrhoidal ladies. I mean everyone. Kink, unkink. Kink, unkink. It's simple science, really. Can't get the last scoop out of the carton? With the Squatty Potty, you get complete elimination. Spend too much time on the chamber pot? The Squatty Potty makes you go twice as fast or your money back. I scream, you scream, and plop, plop, baby. Maybe you're sore from squeezing out solid globs of rocky road. The Squatty Potty gives you a smooth stream of froyo that glides like a virgin swan. Plus, when you're done, it tucks neatly out of sight, thanks to its innovative patented design. Truly a footstool fit for a constipated king. So, if you're a human being who poops from your butt, click here to order your Squatty Potty today at squattypotty.com. You'll wish you tried it years ago. And if you don't trust the prince, how about your doctor? Shark Tank, HuffPost, NPR, Men's Health, Howard Stern. He poops from his... They're all crazy about the Squatty Potty. Not to mention the 2,000 Amazon users who gave the Squatty Potty 5 stars, including the author of this moving haiku.
Oh, Squatty Potty, you fill me with endless joy, yet leave me empty.
So order your Squatty Potty today. I'm not saying it will make your poop as soft as this cookies and cream, but I'm not saying it won't. Squatty Potty, the stool for better stools. Pooping will never be the same. And neither will ice cream. One for you. Very good. How does it taste? Is that delicious? Is that the best thing you've ever had in your life? There you are.
Okay, so hope you got the message. Now in this video, if you think about it, in just 2 minutes and 39 seconds, the Airbnb version of whatever Airbnb covered in those 14 slides, right? In 2 minutes, 39 seconds, everything was covered. Think about it, right? They talked about the problem. They talked about the solution. They talked about investors. They did talk about market. They talked about where to buy. They gave the humorous touch to that, right? And covered every goddamn thing, right? In just 2 minutes 39 seconds, right? My point is, it's not about just the PowerPoint presentation. It's not about just the video. Are you able to create the content such a way where investors or anybody, right, your customers, are they able to get what they need in the least amount of time? Now, if you try to put yourself into investors' shoes, and let's say I'm giving a presentation on Airbnb with those 14, 15 slides, versus I'm sending you this video of 2 minutes, 39 seconds and say, hey, here is my product, Scoochie Poochie, would you like to invest? Decide which way you will go, right? That's the message which I wanted to pass. Would love to take any questions if you have. You guys can unmute yourself and ask questions. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir, for this wonderful session. Guys, the floor is now open for questions. Feel free to unmute yourselves and ask the questions. And you can also put them in the chat box. Sir, I had one question.
Yes, please go ahead.
So basically, we've been living in a completely virtual world for the last 2 years. And so public speaking becomes extremely difficult for us when we are meeting somebody offline and we're presenting it offline. So could you give us any tips for the offline presentation? Like what is the difference between an online and offline presentation? Could you give us some tips?
So I think the first and foremost thing, Tanna, is Presentation is a presentation. Online will have its own challenge. Offline will have its own challenge, right? In offline mode, in person, basically one positive part of offline or in person is where you'll be able to get the feedback. Remember I said earlier that it's always there is a non-verbal feedback which you are getting from the audience, which is not possible in online. Sorry. Think about it right now. Out of this 60, 70, whatever number of people attending, I don't even know whether they like what I'm saying or no. I have no idea. I can't see them. I can't feel them. So I have always seen that when you are presenting, until there is a challenge, please ensure that you go and personally meet your investors. Do not try to take a shortcut, right? Even if it is a cost, even if it means you have to spend day or two, please go ahead and meet them in person first. Don't try to have that fear. In fact, I've seen a lot of time people like online more because they know, they feel, sorry, they feel that I can read whatever is there in my text and other party will not know. If you have that thinking, remember that you are the most stupid person, because as soon as you start reading, the camera will sense it and you will understand it. If I'm reading what I'm talking right now, for sure you will understand after a while that I'm reading it. Okay, and that will pass the very negative message to the investor or audience that if you can't speak yourself about your own product or your company in 5 minutes or 10 minutes, in any case you are a wrong founder, irrespective of idea is good or bad, right? So you have to practice. That's the only thing, Tanya, which will help. Don't think about online. Those days are gone. 2 years we have all tried to enjoy up to a level. Please ignore that. Online is not the world. Online, offline, or a hybrid is the world, and ensure that you are prepared for both. Yeah, I hope I could answer your question.
Right, sir. Absolutely, that makes sense. We have some questions in the chat box, so I'll just read them out to you. Muskan is asking that, so you said that it is fine to not know everything, but many people say that you must know your business inside out. You must not say that I will have to ask my technical people for some code, etc. So what is the truth exactly?
So you need to know your business. That is true. Business does not mean code. Okay, business means business. Investor is interested in knowing the problem, knowing the solution, knowing that how are you going to go to market, knowing that how are you going to how are you going to help me making more money. They are not interested in knowing that, hey, what is written on the code. No. Okay, you do not need to know the code. Let's say, assume for a moment that right now, let's say Tanaya and Satvir, they are the investor and I'm pitching right now. Okay. Now, it might happen that Satvir is a technical gig or a solution architect, right? Versus Tanaya is more of a business person. Let's assume that for a minute. And if I'm talking about my business, let's say I'm talking about, hey, I've got this wonderful application by virtue of which you can book your hotels. I'm pitching Airbnb. Let's get an example, right? And Satvir is saying, hey, I want to know which technology you have used, right? In terms of creating this app. I should know that because that's at the high level, superficial level. But if Tanvir is asking, Satvir is asking me question and saying, hey, when you are entering this, what kind of error it will give, right? It's better to draw line and say, hey, if you are interested in more architecture of the business or of the technology solution, I will have my technology team have 1:1 conversation with you. Okay. As a founder, it is not your duty to know everything from top to bottom. No, that's a wrong expectation. And if some investor has that expectation, better to move away from that investor and go to somebody else. Okay. Because nobody on the earth, if today you think that, let's talk about few examples. Let's say if you think about, let's say, which company you know. So I'll talk about that. Let's say Flipkart. Before Flipkart got sold off to Walmart. If you think that Bansals are supposed to know everything what goes in Flipkart, right, in terms of technology, then investors are the most terrible people on the earth, because they will never expect. Bansal should have the right team, right, who will know, who will take care of those parts. Okay, fair, clear? I hope I can answer your question, right, Muskan, right?
Yes,
Okay.
sir. Just put that on the chat box. So
Sure. Okay. Anybody else? Any other questions?
there's another question in the chat box from Siddharth. He's asking, for presentation, we have to make PPTs for investors. So is it possible to also play a video in front of them?
Yes. In fact, sometimes playing video also is a good idea, because in presentation, see, most of the investors, right, in the first meeting will not give you more than 5 to 10 minutes. Okay. So all you have is 5 to 10 minutes to talk about all this 14, 15 slides, which I talked about, right? Airbnb classic case. So you cannot go in too much of a depth. Same time, let's say if you have a video talking about your product, right, which may be a 1 minute video or 30 seconds video or whatever, then it's better, because in 30 seconds video, you will be able to pass better information rather than talking about your product. When you talk, it will always take more time compared to the video. So if you have some product or application and you want to show quickly 3, 4, 5 screens in 30-second video, it's a good idea to do that. And that is always welcome, because people will know that you have done a bit of a hard work. And same time, right, you are able to pass 5 minutes worth of message in probably 30 to 40 seconds or 60 seconds. That's the other advantage. So yes, videos are always welcome.
Right, sir. Thank you for that. There's another question on the chat box. I'll quickly take it up. Sir, can you please suggest if there is some way we can engage the sense of taste, touch, and smell too? We can engage ears and eyes through what we speak and our presentation and body language. But is there any way to engage all the other three senses as well?
So especially when it comes to touch, right? Especially when it comes to smell. When there is an audience of 200 or 500, it's not possible. But when you are meeting somebody, let's say when you are meeting investors, right? What is the first thing you will do? You will shake hand, right? At least हाथ तो मिलाओगे ना, right? Now that handshake has to be such a powerful handshake, confident handshake. Okay, that confident handshake should pass the message to the investor that I'm in business, I'm here, I'm confident, I can sell you, right? Same time, when you leave, right? If investor is, again, you're having a handshake with investor, almost like a goodbye handshake. Depending on how that person is shaking the hand, you already got your result, by the way. If it is a firm and confident, for sure, person is interested in second meeting. If it is, yeah, okay, thank you, bye. Nice meeting you, right? You know that you're screwed up. Okay, that's one. Second, smell. When you are entering into a room, make sure that, you know, if you are a smoker, if you are a drinker, any such things, make sure you avoid those things. One. Second, don't use use light perfumes, not very fast smell order perfumes, right? Even deos. I've seen people do that. Okay. Now, when you talk about smell, when you talk about touch, a lot of these things, you think that it is not possible when you're meeting somebody. It's not true, right? 93% of your communication will be different ways of body language through those senses. Okay, it's only 7% is your other communication, which is verbal or written or any such things. 93% is non-verbal. So sense, smell, auditory, all these are part of it. Correct?
Right, sir. Absolutely. That makes sense. And I think it's something that we all should keep in mind in general as well.
That's true.
I think, sir, can we take up one last question?
Yeah, we can. I'm okay as long as you guys are okay. I'm perfectly okay.
So there's one question from Nitesh. He's asking, sir, can we add our own research at ground level and our own city for our own product?
You can, in fact, make sure if you have done research, it's always good. Only thing is, make sure that it's a genuine, right? Don't come up with the fictitious data. Okay, so fictitious data, if it is your research, make sure that you, if at all question comes to that, where you need to prove why you are saying X percentage of people will buy or not buy, you need to have a genuinity to the data points. But and in fact, sometimes having your own research will add a lot of credibility to your effort also, right? It's not that always you need to go for Forrester and Gartner and NASCOM and any such organization only. You can have your own data points. But two things: genuinity is important. Second, make sure sample size is decent enough. Don't say my sample size was 25 people, because that's not a data point, right? If you are saying my sample size was, let's say, 5,000 students in a college or in a university, then that you are talking about data, right? That's a sizable number. Okay, but you can't say 25,000 people across India. Then that's not a data point. 25,000 in a small area of, let's say, Varanasi, or let's say I'm from Pune, so I can talk about Pune. Let's say in Shivaji Nagar, Pune area, I took a sample of 25,000 people. Now that's a good data point. But 25,000 in India is not a good data point. Okay, so yes, your research has a value as long as there is a genuinity, as long as that size or a volume what you are talking is a sizable enough and it is focusing on a narrow segment. Yeah.
Right. Thank you, sir. I'll take up one last question from the chat box. It is from Siddharth. So Siddharth is basically inquiring about why investors give such little time. So why is there a time constraint while pitching? So do you really think that like somebody can judge an idea in a stipulated period of time?
Sitting on the other side of the table, I can tell you that generally what happens is, in first, forget, even if I have given 10 minutes for presentation, right, for investors pitching, because we do that, we meet a lot of founders almost every week, right? And let's say even if we have given 10 minutes to the founder to present, in first, I would say minute or two, I've already made my decision whether I'm going to invest or not. In next 8 minutes, I'm going to validate that decision, right or wrong. So 90% of the time, in first 2 minutes, whatever decision I made, I'll stick to that. 10% I might switch after few 2-3 slides, if at all there is something one way versus other goes. So 10 minutes, by the way, is not too less time. 10 minutes is too much for investors, because in fact, last week only I was with Sanjay Mehta, 100x VC from Mumbai, right? Now, person like him, daily basis is listening to like probably 10 pitches in a day or 20 pitches in a day, right? When you are going through so many pitches in a day, right, you understand immediately, you know, those 20 multiple businesses, how does it work? Will there be a juice in this business or not? Will this founder be a good one to make it to next level, right? Will they take this company to next orbit? So yes, 10 minutes, Siddharth, to answer your question, 10 minutes is not too less. In fact, 10 minutes is too much. You need to focus. Look at the Airbnb presentation. Look at the other video, right? Video was only 2 minutes, 39 seconds. Now, if you have, think about you yourself as Siddharth, as an investor. If you watch that video and at the end, this gentleman founder is saying, hey, I'm looking for $500,000, assuming you have got a multi-million, $500,000 for 10% equity, will you go for it or not? Or at least you have made a first decision saying, hey, let me get more information. Let me start getting due diligence level. Try to understand more detail in terms of financials and other things, right? That's your objective for first 5-10 minutes, is to get the next meeting set. In the first 5-10 minutes, you will never get check, right? in first 5 to 10 minutes meeting, your objective is, can I meet next level where I will get half an hour or 1 hour? And then that's how it will go, right? Remember my 3 things: talk to inform, talk to convince, talk to get action. So your first meeting might be talk to inform, create that buzz that I have arrived, I have got a solution, I have got a problem, and for that I have a solution. Second meeting, where you will be able to convince them, and third meeting, get the check. Generally, it doesn't happen in third meeting, it happens after 7th, 8th meeting, but just giving you a perspective. Yeah? Siddharth, I hope you get the answer, yeah?
Right. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for such an informative and interactive session. I'm sure all the attendees have learned a lot today, and we all will take back loads of learnings from this masterclass. And now I would like to invite Satvir to deliver the vote of thanks.
No problem. And from my side, just 1 second, Tanna, especially if, I don't know, all these are students or what, but any founders, startup company founders, if you are looking for any help, we'll be more than happy to help any point. You can connect me on my LinkedIn, right, or my Twitter, wherever you feel comfortable. Get connected, and we'll be more than happy to answer any question if you might have any. Yeah, thank you. Go ahead, Satvir.
Thank you, sir. A very good evening to everyone. I, Satvir Badodia, on behalf of E-Summit, would like to thank you all for being here today. I would like to extend my warm vote of thanks to Jitendra sir for taking out his precious time and gracing us with his presence. Sir, your valuable insights has truly motivated us a lot, and we have learned a lot today. I would also like to thank all the attendees and participants who has joined us today in this masterclass, and I hope you all have a great time in the summit. I hope that this E-Summit leaves an entrepreneurial spark in each and every participant. Thank you, and stay E-Celified. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much. Good night. Have a pleasant weekend.
Thank you so much, Satvir. So I hope you had a great time in this masterclass session on the art of presentation, how to pitch in front of investors. We have more amazing sessions and workshops coming up in E-Summit 2022, so stay tuned for that. Thank you so much, and stay celebrated. For all the attendees present here, we'll be floating a Google form in just a minute. You all need to fill in that form to receive your certificate for all the masterclass sessions. So please make sure you wait for just a little while in this meeting, and we'll be floating the form soon.
Can I leave?
Sure, sir. Sure. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, sir. Bye-bye. Have a good night.